that's why I got into the gym, is deep insecurity. I don't want to be like them. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like them. They didn't seem happy. I think I've just always been like a bit of a risk taker growing up. Always wanted, felt as if I was kind of destined for more than just like an average life. If somebody's got to do it, why not me? See, when clients tell me, can you prep? It's so hard, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, mate, I've lived this life. I've been out the house for more hours than you've ever been out. The only thing I could do when I got home was sleep. That was it. I phoned up my boss and says, oh mate, I'm patching my job, I'm going to go take this PT thing, take it serious. Mate, I was just so wanting to make this happen. 2 year spell where I never bought myself like any clays or anything, mate. I had a motor because I was paying out so much to make the dream happen. I need to set my goals so much higher, because the time frame for me quitting my gas engineer job to actually being the online coach, I think that was like 2 or 3 years, mate. And I'd done that quickly. I had just learned to set my goals so much higher, man.
Like, there's a lot of people that don't take this. If you had to say it into these people that are maybe sitting watching this thinking, I want to do something here, or I'm on the verge of making a move but I'm quite scared to do it, what would be your words to somebody like that?
I would honestly say,
how we doing, guys? Welcome back to the Longshots Podcast, and we have our second guest and our co-host, Bradley Walker. Welcome, mate.
How you doing, Troops?
How
nice
you
to be
doing,
here. Pleasure.
It's good to see you, mate. Now, today we want to try and touch on a wee bit of obviously your story, mate. So I'm really interested to hear this. So I've got a few wee bits and bobs to ask you, mate. So first of all, we want to start on, what was it like growing up as Bradley Walker? Where are you from? And what was that like?
So grew up in Balornock, mate. Came for the kind of typical scheme sort of setup as well, mate. To be honest, I was quite lucky because my mum and dad kind of had their heads switched on. Like, they were kind of very work driven. I mean, they were kind of always wanting to get nice things, all that sort of stuff. So I would always kind of thought to myself as kind of being like a wee well off in the scheme. But with that being said, mate, all my pals are obviously the same people that you're surrounded by in there, man. So I kind of grew up doing all the same sort of stuff. But the only thing is, I had like some designer clobber, basically, man. So I was still a band, mate, but just with some nice
just
clothes,
a well-dressed band,
mate. A well-dressed band, mate, to be honest. You see that way, like, the parents pure took pride in that, like, oh, he had these Prada shoes going to school and all that. One of my school teachers, when I went into my first class in primary one, they're like, why have you got Armani school trousers as a wee guy?
Oh, really?
First day, mate, and it's like my head teacher told me that story when I was leaving. And it was like, bye. So typical kind of scheme life, except with just some good clobber.
Fair enough, mate, fair enough. And when did you start getting into fitness, mate? Like, what sort of age were you when you started training and stuff?
So growing up, mate, I've always kind of been naturally quite, like, I would say athletic, right? Technically, I've never been like too gifted, but I've always been like kind of fast, tall, all that sort of stuff. So Big bruiser, mate. So obviously, get a wee guy, mate. I was always running about on bikes, playing football, playing tennis, doing all these sort of things. Scheme tennis, right enough, mate. It was in the car park. There was no net there. It was just scudding it from one side of the car park to the other, you know what I mean? But I've kind of always been active, kind of growing up. Probably up until about, I went to high school. Like all through primary school, I was in and out of clubs, football teams, etc. But the issue I kind of always had is, as much as I was kind of always gave a lot of stuff, I was never really taught proper discipline, you know what I mean? I was in and out of clubs and just patch them straight away because I wanted to go to my pals, you know what I mean? Which is something I do kind of regret. I wish I put more into my physical attributes.
But again, you could always say that it's kind of led you to where you are now, mate. Do you know what I mean? So maybe that was your journey.
Aye.
Maybe it was the way it's supposed to have been.
Well, that's it, mate. I guess that's true. That is true.
So when did you get into fitness, mate? Like, what was this? When did you start like training?
So first started properly hitting the gym when I was like 6. I maybe went to the gym slightly about 14 when you kind of get that age you're allowed to go. Went down to Tollcross gym and I would go and do like sit-ups, bicep curls, and then go sit in the sauna for like half an hour. Sauna, steam room, jacuzzi, all that sort of stuff. Just slightly dabbled in that when I was about kind of 14. And then the real kind of time where I started getting into the gym was when I was like 16. So I was basically going on holiday with a mate who's also called Brad Lang. His family was taking me away to like Turkey with him to this big resort. But me and him were like 16 at the time. We pure thought we were going like our first lads holiday. And he was always like right in shape for a young age. And I was kind of thinking to myself, man, we've got to be talking to birds. I'm going to need to get my script together here. Because I was just naturally very thin, to be honest, man. So for that age, I started just howling it for about 6-7 weeks leading up to that holiday. And I just naturally fell in love with it because as soon as I started getting into it, I then was watching all the videos online and all that sort of stuff and just got really right into it, man, for there onwards. And just,
I was going to ask you, mate, but obviously everybody sees you now, mate, and everybody thinks like really good shape, quite a big fucker.
Cheers.
Like, blow smoke up your ass, mate, but you're in good shape.
Aye.
Like, what was it like when you were before? Were you naturally quite big or were you skinny? Like, what was the script?
So, kind of knowing what I know now, I was again always naturally athletic. It was never big built. Like if you see my brother, my cousins, all that sort of stuff, none of them are like solid, right? But I think I kind of always had that ability within me because I was rapid at running, you know what I mean? So I think I just had that kind of physical attribute, but I was definitely thin. I would kind of be what you would call like skinny fat, see, because I was kind of like drinking and stuff like that for a younger age. Never had any real size and had a wee tiny bit of, I wouldn't say a gut, but I never had like abs or any stuff like that popping. And like that's kind of what the gym, that's why I got into the gym, is deep insecurity. I told you when I was going to on holiday with my mate Brad, like it basically all came from me feeling insecure about how I looked compared to him. And that's kind of how the whole gym process kind of went and started, man.
I see, I was the polar opposite, mate. When I was younger, I was like just abs since I was born.
Oh, you?
Aye,
lucky.
the whole time. I was just naturally fit, mate. Did you work any jobs before fitness? Like, did you do it in before?
Aye, so basically, since I got out of school, I got an apprenticeship as it was a gas engineer, really, but the proper title was a HVAC engineer, so heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. And basically done that for the age of kind of like 17 through to 21. Got qualified. I became qualified, and then the full time through that kind of career, I was looking at like the people running about me, and I was like, I don't want to be like them. You know what I mean? I don't want to be like them. They didn't seem happy within their job. Seemed kind of a bit miserable. The company that I worked for, we basically worked in all the secondary schools, so like it wasn't really like a kind of a younger guys thing. They were all older and they were coming to the end of their career, and they just seemed a wee bit miserable with it, man. You know what I mean? Obviously there were some ones that were loving it, but like as a whole, I was looking at it, I was like, this isn't for me. So then basically by the time as soon as I finished my my gas engineer apprenticeship, I finished that in the May, and I booked to start a personal training course in the January. Because as I say, when I fell in love with the gym, I started watching so much fitness content. Like, I mean, every night I'd be binging it, mate. I would fall asleep to it and all that sort of stuff. And I started seeing all these like big fitness influencers when they were just kind of coming up, the YouTubers and stuff like that. And I looked at their life and I was like, I want a bit of that. And for me, I've always kind of wanted to go into the more content side of it, but personal training was the first stepping stone to get into that, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Who was your inspirations? Who was the big one? Because I think I know who this is.
So there's a couple. There is a couple. Right. So you've got the OG, which is Ziz. If anybody doesn't know him,
Ziz. I was going to say Zeus.
Ziz. So anybody that doesn't know him, who's into the gym, you should go look at him. He was like probably like your first ever fitness influencer. So he was him, but he wasn't too serious. He was a bit of a joker, if you will. But then major like an inspiration would be a guy called Greg Plitt, who'd actually died not that long after I got into the kind of whole gym scene, and he's like the motivation. This guy still gives people to this day is unbelievable. And then for kind of then onwards, it was then people like Rob Lipsett, Mike Thurston, Christian Guzman, Joe Delaney. These are all like kind of goats of the YouTube fitness scene now, you know what I mean?
You're very much into all that sort of stuff, the YouTube and the content. You always have been, since that's what I'm saying. When I first seen you and like knew about you was like your Instagram, and I seen you were doing YouTube bits and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite good to hear where it started.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? But what you've done there is you've took a wee chance, because you've obviously done your apprenticeship, mate. Most people wouldn't have done that.
Aye.
So you've had to take a wee chance. You've done your apprenticeship, and then you thought, this isn't for me. I'm going to have to try and go down the fitness route. But there'll be a lot of people that wouldn't do that. What was the thing that made you like, I'm going to take this risk?
Honestly, mate, I think I've just always been like a bit of a risk taker growing up, and I seen their life, and I was like, I want a piece of that. You know what I mean? I always wanted, felt as if I was kind of destined for more than just like an average life, if you will. And I've always had like good belief in myself. Like my parents kind of instilled that within me, you know what I mean? I think sometimes people can kind of mistake it for arrogance, but I've just been brought up to like really believe in myself. So I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. If somebody's got to do it, why not me? You know what I mean?
Touching on the arrogance bit, right? Because a lot of people do think you're arrogant, mate. And obviously, since we started sort of filming content together, hanging about together, and like being pals, mate, I don't believe you are, mate. I think that's a completely like that's not true, mate. That's why I'm so excited about this podcast, mate. Because I want people to see what you're like in like a longer setting, mate. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't believe that's who you are. I don't think you're arrogant whatsoever. Would you say you're arrogant?
Mate, so as I said, I've got good self-belief, right? And I think I can be arrogant at times, but I think everybody can. But I think it's mainly just like a kind of high level of confidence, mate. Know what I mean? But with that being said, mate, I've also got crippling self-doubt, which is the pure weirdest thing, know what I mean? So I don't know if it's just maybe the way I come across when I'm saying some stuff. I can kind of be quite preachy and lectury or whatever, but I don't mean it just comes across. The amount of people, mate, they say to me, like when they meet me in person, they're like, "Oh, mate, you're so different from what I thought." There's a funny story like my wee brother's pals just happened recently, and they basically thought I was going to be a pure roaster. They didn't actually know I was my wee brother's brother, and we were at kind of like an after party and that sort of stuff. And then they basically says to him the next day, "Is like, mate, one, I didn't know he was your brother, and I thought he was going to be a total roaster when I first seen him online. He's like, but he's the soundest guy ever." And I was like, thank God.
Mate, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how big a reach you've got, mate. There's boys in my team that know who you are and that.
Yes.
People are asking me about you, saying like you're solid and that. I was like, smash him, man.
See, honestly, man, that kind of just does mean the world because when I got into it, like I had extreme like body dysmorphia. Not the body dysmorphia, but lacked confidence in my physique. And now when people say that, obviously it means a lot. You know what I mean?
Growing up, mate, did you get yourself involved in any like drinking, partying, all that sort of stuff? Are you?
Aye. So basically, although I've kind of always trained, I was basically like kind of serious gym guy for like Monday to like Friday about 8 o'clock, and then for like then onwards, mate, I'd be all weekend, every single weekend. Like, I mean, my mum barely seen me at the weekends. You know what I mean? I was right into like gone out to like say like Adalchi's, Subby, Art School, SWG3, all these places, mate, and I was obviously on it. Know what I mean? The full time. So I was definitely kind of in that sort of whole party scene. And let's see as well, mate. As I say, I kind of grew up in a kind of scheme area, mate. Like all the boys I hung about with were all mad as well. You know what I mean? Obviously, I kind of had some good influences as well with my kind of pal group. But you know what it's like, mate. The general kind of people who are going out, especially as I got a wee bit older, just before I took PT really seriously, like they were all mad. You know what I mean? Absolutely mad.
Talking about inspirations and stuff like that, mate. Do you have any like real inspirations in your life? It doesn't need to be like, I know obviously we've touched on Zeus and Zeus or whatever you want to call them, but is there anybody in your circle, your family, or MD when you were younger that really inspired you to be better and do better? So
this is only one that I recently kind of realised, mate. But so I never took any inspiration from when we were younger, but now that we're a wee bit older, I look at Lawrence's career, mate, and I'm like, he's done something special there. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I started kind of really staying away from drinking and stuff like that, I had a lot of admiration for him, like no going out and boozing, mate. Because so see, when we were going out every weekend, I says we were all drinking, we were all in the park, all that sort of stuff, and he would just always stay away from it. Never ever. He would sometimes come out, but like we'd go to a house party and like no drinking, be a home early and all that sort of stuff. And I just kind of started to admire that a bit more the older I get. But in actual, like other people who I looked up to, mate, I never had any figures in my life who like truly inspired me to go and be better, mate. It was always looking to like people who I didn't even know, mate. You know what I mean? So like your Ronaldos, your Conor McGregors, your Michael Jordans, obviously that kind of Greg Plitt guy, all these sort of people, man. I took a lot of inspiration for like these kind of like adopted role models, if you will. You know what I mean?
No, definitely. I mean, touching on Lawrence, mate, I played against Lawrence a few times, man. We were younger, mate. He scored 4 against us when I was at Rafe. And then I played against him in like the Betfred Cup or something when I was at Albion, and he was at Ayr United at the time. We Burnells at the game, and we Burnell says that I was better than Lawrence on the day. I was like, shut the fuck up, mate, honestly. But your pal Lawrence, mate, touching on him, he was obviously he's done amazing, mate, hasn't he? He really is. He really is, man.
Some serious stories about him being like a pure baller, mate, right? When we were especially young, but we'll keep them for another day, man. But
Being
I've seen
pure what?
a pure baller, mate. Like, as in like coming on and just ridiculing teams, mate. Know what I mean? It was crazy to kind of see the difference. And like I always kind of growing up, I always knew he was good, right? But we never kind of had a perception on like how good he was. Know what I mean? But you should just see him pure dominate, like seeing you played like 1.5 and all that.
We're saying Lawrence, by the way, it's Lawrence Shanklin.
Aye, Lawrence Shanklin, aye.
People won't know.
I call him Wazza, mate, know what I mean? So
Wazza.
Aye, that's just kind of what it came from.
So when did you decide you wanted to be a PT? What age were you when you actually started, and where did you start?
So basically, finished my apprenticeship at the age of 20, just about to turn 21. Booked that to basically start in the January, so I just turned 21 by that sort of time. It was like a 6-month course, so I was basically like a PT by the time I was 21. But how it basically started is obviously you don't have a lot of clients, so I was working kind of my 2 jobs at the same time. So I would start my gas engineer job for 7 in the morning, and I'd go through until about 3 p.m. and then I would go straight for the gas engineer job to the gym to train for myself for 3 to 5, and then for 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. I would be taking clients, you know what I mean, but like for absolute pennies, in a gym called Future Fitness. So I was basically at the house for like about 6:30ish to about 10:30, I mean, the full day, mate.
That's a grind, man.
Mate, it's mental, mate. See, when I look back at kind of work ethic I had there, mate, it was insane. Honestly, just taking I look at it, I'm like, how did I do that? But this is the good thing about me living that life, is because, see, when clients tell me, they'll know, oh, I can't prep, it's so hard, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, mate, I've lived this life. I've been out the house for more hours than you've ever been out. The only thing I could do when I got home was sleep. That was it. And prep meals. You know what I mean? The only thing I could do. So I've kind of got that sort of authority to be like, no, mate, you can make it happen. You know what I mean?
So Future Fitness is where you started?
Yeah, it's in Shawlands, mate.
Shawlands.
Above the Icelands. Good gym, by the way.
How long were you there for? And I want to know the time where obviously you were working those both jobs. What about where was the time where you went straight into personal training? Like, how did you make it happen?
So it's a wee bit of a kind of story, right? So basically, started my PT course in January, got qualified by about May. This is 2017, it must have been. So then for that kind of point onwards through until like the March of 2018, I believe, is when I was kind of just doing the PT thing, kind of part-time on the side. And then I basically decided to go to Ibiza for the summer, right? And I'd done that season there for like 3 months. And then it was when I came back to there, basically kind of went through a whole like kind of heartbreak sort of thing, man. I was basically going to gear up in the PT situation, because I was like, no, I need to get a job. I need to focus on my gas engineer job, make sure I've got enough dough so I can then take this bird out and do all that sort of stuff, man. And then she basically patched us. And then for there, I just kind of went, no, what, man, I need to go all in with this PT thing. So then on that October of 2018, I then started to get really in to like, know what, I'm going all in this, started posting content, posted my first YouTube video on that at that point as well. And then that basically took me from there through until about, I think it must have been about February 2019-ish. Basically I moved from Future Fitness to Everlast up the fort, and I got there basically when it was first opening. And I remember seeing the gym getting built, and I was like, right, I'm going to make sure I'm one of the first PTs in the door there, because it's right in my front doorstep. And I know loads of people for this area, and if I'm one of the first PTs in there, I know for a fact they'll get a ton of business through it, because there's going to be so many members. So started in there. I can't remember when it opened. I think that was November 2018 that opened. And then on you go, sorry.
Had you quit your gas engineer job
no,
before you started?
So I was still doing this as a thing on the side at night time. And again, it definitely opened November 2018, and I'd done that all the way through until about it was April Fool's Day in 2019. I phoned up my boss for the gas engineer job, and I says, oh mate, I'm patching my job, I'm going to go take this PT thing, take it serious, because they didn't really know I was doing the PT thing as well, because like I was, you know what I mean, I was meant to be focused on the gas engineer stuff, but I was just kind of doing it. And then I phoned him up on April Fool's Day 2019, and I was like, I'm going to patch this, and he's like, you're kidding me on, aren't you? It's like, no, I had a heavy good boss, man. Peter was so sound. He's like, no, you're bamming me up, don't do it. He's like, phone me in the morning and tell me then. I was like, right, sound. So I phoned him next day. I was like, right, Peter, just to let you know, I'm up patching this job, man. I'm going to go all in this sort of PT thing. And then for there, it was, I think I had about a month or 2 weeks lying time or whatever it was. And then I went into full-time PT up Everlast. So that must have been about, May 2000.
To start with, how were you doing in terms of clients and money-wise? Did you get...
Nah, so I took a major hit, mate, in wages. Obviously, a gas engineer job was relatively well paid. It was a really good company I was with as well. It was like a job for life. It was super safe. Everything was so cushy in that. So it was a big risk, mate, when I went and patched it. I think I was making about like $1,000 a month or something like that for PT. Because I was charging so little as well, just to try and get clients in the door. But, mate, I was just so like wanting to make this happen that I just kind of went in on it, man. So it took a bit of time, mate, to build up clientele, and I just basically kind of went through grit, mate, just post. And I was one of the first people posting up in that gym as well. Maybe one of the first people kind of in the whole Scotland scene, but posting content consistently, you know what I mean? I remember being up in the gym in Everlast, up east, the Middle Easter house with a tripod and all that. Bear in mind, thinking about people that's got to that gym. I learned this, like, what's this boy doing, man? And I'm just up like talking to the camera, like, right, this is how you do a bicep curl and all that sort of stuff, you know what I mean?
Mate, that's one thing I notice about you is just relentless consistency with posting, mate. Like, I never see you no posting, mate. You've never went through a spell. I go through so many spells where I'm posting and I'm on it, and then I just hit a slump, mate. And I don't ever see that happening to you, mate. Where does that come from? How the fuck do you do that? Oh, mate, it's because, like, as I say, mate, the personal training was always like kind of stepping stone for me to get into more online coaching, kind of fitness content. So, like, the fitness content is where my heart truly is. I love being a PT, and it's good to have that sort of side on the back end, the business side of it.
But I just love the content, mate. You know what I mean? I really love
So
sitting
it's
doing
just
it.
like a love for it, mate. That's why you do it so much.
And also I need to say I've got an amazing team behind me that helps me with the content.
Yeah.
So without them, it wouldn't be anywhere near as good or consistent. You know what I mean? So shout out to Cuba and Paul.
Shout
man.
out to Cuba. So Paul, I don't know. Paul.
So he helps me as well with some stuff. Basically, he kind of helps a lot of the filming stuff. But two of them are they just make me a better version of myself.
That's another
you know what I
thing
mean?
as well, mate. It's another wee, like, you've obviously essentially employed these guys to help you, mate. You know what I mean? That's a decision, that's a risk, that's money.
100%, mate. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
That's another risk. So it's not like you've just took one risk with jumping from the gas engineer into PT, mate. You're consistently taking risks. Do you know what I mean? You're always going to have to take risks at some point.
Aye, that definitely, mate. Like, so see, like for the last while, mate, like I've been investing so heavily into the business, mate. And I mean, not really taking a lot for myself, mate. There was like 2-year spell where I never bought myself like any clays or anything, mate. Know what I mean? Never had a motor, all these sort of things because I was paying out so much to make the dream happen. Know what I mean? But it was just something I've been so driven to try and get, mate. Know what I mean?
Yeah. So you were in Everlast. How long did you PT in there, and how successful were you in there?
So basically, I was definitely kind of one of the more busier PTs in there. And then when I went full time, I definitely became there was one or two PTs that were maybe doing better than us, to be honest. But I was definitely kind of leading the charge in there. You know what I mean? Especially in the kind of content side of things. So after kind of going full time, it took me I'd maybe say about 6 months to where I'd actually achieved double what my income for my gas engineer job was, for a very kind of short spell. And then COVID came and happened, mate, obviously, and that absolutely wrecked it, mate.
Mate, I'm glad I was not fully self-employed during COVID.
Mate, honestly,
Talk to me about that, mate. What did you do?
Mate, I was honestly like so broke, mate. I was like, because I'd saved up a wee tiny bit of money, and basically I had a girlfriend at the time. We were planning on going travelling. I think it was planning on going to Australia actually. So I had a wee bit of savings, mate, and then obviously I had no cash whatsoever coming in. And obviously the whole lockdown thing was meant to be like 2 weeks, and it was 3 weeks and whatever. And mate, I was getting on it. You know what I mean? I was partying hard, smoking a lot during that time frame, mate, near enough every single day, doing nothing. So, mate, I was honestly so broke, and it was just getting worse and worse. And I was on, what do you call that? Was it no furlough because I didn't have a job, but it's universal credit. I was on universal credit, mate. And that was the only thing getting me by, mate. I was so skint, mate. Everybody was like kind of doing stuff during lockdown, mate, and I had nothing. But there was a wee blessing in that, mate, because I knew, right, I've got this time off. After a little bit of a month or two, pure partying up and wasting all sorts of dough, I was like, right, this is my time to start building the online program and actually make something for it. Because as when I was first PTing, I was just so busy that I never had time to actually serve online clients. So I was like, what's happening? I'm like, you all good, mate? But then I kind of had time to actually sit and build the app and the members area and all that sort of stuff for them, mate. And that's kind of where I built that. So as much as it was brutal going through that time frame, it helped me like set up a foundation for the online kind of program. You know what I mean?
Definitely, mate. That must have been so hard for you, man. That must have been so hard. So do you say you work with more online clients, or would you work with...
So it's right now it's about 2 to 1 split online. So 2 online clients for real, 1 in person.
Right, okay. Okay. Do you see yourself going down that online route completely?
I think, mate, yes, because I want the freedom to make more content, mate. You know what I mean? That's going to be the thing. But I think also having the personal training kind of aspect I think it's something I'll never remove now, because when I basically kind of, after COVID basically happened, I then ended up going travelling. Couldn't get into Australia because you needed like vaccines and that sort of stuff, and obviously didn't get that. And then basically for there, kind of went again away travelling, and it gave me that sort of flexibility, and I knew I wanted to like start kind of working on that. You know what I mean? Kind of having that freedom.
Talking about travelling, that's obviously my next question for you about where did you go? Did you go?
So it started off where we went kind of like, as I said, we were aiming to go to Australia, but that we couldn't get in. So then we kind of dotted about Europe for a wee while, for like kind of 3 months. Again, done this with like my ex at the time. So we were in like Greece to start with, and then it was like Italy. We went to like Tenerife for a wee bit, and then we were in Italy, man. We're like, this is a dive here. We went to Palermo, and we got told to go there after a friend, but then I realised it was like one of the kind of worst places.
Really?
That's where the mafia is for Sicily.
Oh, really?
So it was kind of mad. And we had friends, so obviously looking Sky, they were just gone travelling, and they says that we got to Thailand. I was like, why don't we try and get into Thailand? Because again, we never had vaccines, or I didn't have a vaccine, so it was the only place I could kind of go into. You know what I mean? So
when you're over there, obviously, I actually didn't know you'd done Europe. I thought you'd only really done Southeast Asia and stuff like that. So when you're over there, what are you doing for dough?
Online coaching.
Online coaching.
Aye.
Was it getting you by? Were you
Get me
doing
by,
alright?
mate. It was only making about $1,000 a month again, man. Saved, as I said, I'd saved up a wee bit of money for the kind of PT thing. But again, I took that gamble, mate. I mean, I took the risk to go and try and just make it happen. But to be honest, mate, when you're travelling a bit like that, mate, airport to airport and that sort of stuff, bro, I was slacking big time. I mean, I was doing enough to get by, mate. But I wasn't taking it serious, man. I mean,
no, definitely. So you then did you get yourself over to Thailand and stuff like that?
So we got ourselves.
So again, mate, obviously that's obviously quite a lot of money. Big gamble. The flights are not cheap.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So like, how did you manage to make that work, mate? Did you have money saved up?
Just had a wee bit of money saved up, but honestly, mate, I was like, I'm like, see with that, I'll just gamble on like risks like that. So see if I had like maybe $1,000 in my account and the flights were £600, I'd be like, right, cool, go do it, boom.
Really?
We'll make money. I will make the money. We'll make the money. Kept telling myself that, mate. You know what I mean? And to be honest, it did kind of always kind of just get us by, but like it was also an uncalculated risk. It was being too risky. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Taking that because I was just kind of scraping by. You know what I mean?
Were you ever in a point where you were over there and you're like, fuck, I've got no money?
Aye, all the time. Like honestly, all the time. Obviously,
am I getting home?
Well, aye, like that was not even a thought. You know what I mean? It was more like, right, cool, how are we eating? You know what I mean? But mate, again, it just pushes you to go and kind of work hard on it. You know what I mean?
Would you say you had like more success over in like Thailand and stuff like that? It's kind of a better place to be doing your PT and all that sort of stuff. Or was it very similar? Were you struggling to?
So I took on my
consistent?
first mentorship at that point, and I basically kind of picked up a few bits on how to start getting some leads in. So I was doing all right, mate. And then the January, so it was like the January, the turn of the year. I then kind of go up my income into about like $2,000 a month or something like that. You know what I mean?
Which is good money when you're over in like Thailand.
Exactly, man. So it kind of got me by, just to kind of do that. But mate, it was a lot of spending. You know what I mean? So eventually, I was at that point like I probably need to kind of go home, reassess things now. You know what I mean? And I kind of did get bored with Thailand a wee bit as well. It was good and all that, but when I was there for like nearly 6 months, you know what I mean? So
it's a long time, isn't it?
It is a long time, mate. And we were in a wee bit called Naihan, so you're just kind of living in this wee consistent sort of bubble, you know what I mean? And then again, my ex at the time, she was wanting to see her family and all that. It's like, no, I'm kind of the same. So we just kind of came back for there, you know what I mean?
Overall, how long were you travelling? I
think it was
all it combined.
I think it was like must have been about 7 or 9 months or something. It was a good amount of time. Man. It was a decent chunk, mate, to be honest. Can't remember.
Did
exactly.
You take anything for that? Like, obviously when you're over in places like that, did you have any like proper like outbreaks where you were like,
So basically, as I've mentioned this in a previous podcast, where like I was sitting doing my work on the laptop on the kind of rooftop pool and all that, and everything was all, I was looking at it, I was like, I've actually achieved like what I wanted to achieve. The only thing I didn't have was millions of pounds in my bank account, but like I had the lifestyle, I was in the sun, all the online clients, all that sort of stuff. So I was kind of like, wow. And then, but I realised I was like, right, I need to set my goals so much higher, because for the time frame for me quitting my gas engineer job to actually being the kind of the online coach, I think that was like 2 or 3 years, mate. You know what I mean? I'd done that like that quickly, you know what I mean? Like travelling the world and that sort of stuff as well. So it was, I had just learned to set my goals so much higher, man.
So obviously the story that we've just obviously went through, mate, you've took so many risks that it's just continuously taking risks all the time. Like there's a lot of people that don't take risks, mate. If you had to say it into these people that are maybe sitting watching this thinking, I want to do something here, or I'm on the verge of making a move, but I'm quite scared to do it, what would be your words to somebody like that?
I would honestly say just go for it, because see if you've got like a relatively decent family sort of unit behind you, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything mega, but if you've got like a house to go back to, like family to help you, like just take it, especially when you're younger, because see the older you get, the harder it's going to be to go and take the risk. I mean, it's easier to take it when you've got no responsibilities. Like that was always a kind of lucky thing I had no responsibilities. I didn't have a gaff on it. I didn't have a motor at the time. You know what I mean? So like I could just gamble, you know what I mean, and go for it. But like I would say as well, like kind of one thing I've kind of learned is maybe take a bit more a responsible gamble. You know what I mean? I was just going all in, like who cares? Let's just go. You know what I mean? But again, it's got me here, so maybe that is the kind of thing to go and do.
Definitely take the gamble into it. Take the gamble. What's next for you, mate? Where do you see yourself in the next like sort of 5 years? Ideally, where would you like to be?
Honestly, mate, I want this podcast to be mega. I want to be interviewing people like not just in Scotland but like worldwide. I mean, people who've got like, really, really good stories. But mate, I would also love to have like a massive online coaching business in the kind of back end as well, mate, to help me basically support like all my family, you know what I mean, and provide a life for them that they can't even dream of, to be honest, mate. And I also want to be, see the way I grew up watching these kind of fitness influencers and like they've massively impacted me. Mate, I want to inspire like next generations, mate, especially next generations in Scotland, to go and be better. I mean, that's like something for me. I want to be an inspiration to like as many people as I can, to be honest.
That's class, mate. I honestly feel that you probably are an inspiration to quite a lot of people right now,
Means
mate.
a lot.
What you tend to get when you're posting a lot of content, mate, this is something I wanted to ask you about, was like, I see a lot of hate coming through on certain posts, right? But a lot of people are seeing your shit, mate, and you tend to find a lot of people that are enjoying your shit, or enjoying your posts and enjoying what you do, don't tend to write, but you get a lot of sort of negative comments. Like, how do you deal with it? Do you care?
I honestly don't, mate. I think when I first started, I was quite lucky because I told you all my pals were all kind of mad when we were all growing up. So see, when I was first making videos and all that, they were all roasting me anyway. So like, so I was kind of like, I was used to it, mate. I mean, like, these were people who were like, I kind of cared about their opinion a lot more, and like they were definitely like tougher, if you will, than like the TikTok hater. Know what I mean? So the first couple of comments kind of got to me, and I'd argue back with them, but then I just started like just saying stuff back to them to get them to comment more to drive up the engagement.
I
mean?
Mate, I see that.
But mate, see as well, mate. One thing I will say is, see every hater that I've ever met like in person, they've ended up becoming a client. Like all the people that were my pals who slagged me about it, they wound up paying me at one point. Know what I mean? So I think it's kind of like, they maybe start hating because they maybe think I'm all like arrogant or whatever it is, or a roaster or whatever. They'll maybe stick along, see enough content for long enough to think, oh no, he's actually maybe kind of sound, and then maybe see, oh, he actually knows what he's talking about, see my clients' results, and then what a bit of that. So the haters eventually end up paying me.
That's amazing, mate. That's amazing. Well, Bradley, thank you very much, mate, for being our second guest, mate. I really enjoyed that, man.
So good,
I really
mate.
enjoyed that, man. And I'm really looking forward to making more podcasts with you and getting really good guests in, mate.
Aye,
really
I think
good.
that's a good point to actually say. Maybe drop us who you want to see as the next guest in the comments down below.
Absolutely.
Because we're looking to basically get people on it, mate, who have got like a story that's actually went and done something. And I feel as if like, right now, mate, we're still kind of on our journey to becoming the long shot, if you will, know what I mean?
Absolutely,
We've obviously achieved some good things, mate, know what I mean? But we want to try and get some really good success stories on here, and like hopefully it's going to inspire people to go and do that kind of extra bit themselves, know what I mean?
Definitely. And if you think you would maybe be a good guest for us, feel free to message a page.
Heads up, man.
Definitely.
Drop a comment.
Listen, Bradley.
Thank you, Jamie,
Appreciate
bro.
it, brother. Thank you.